What in the world is going on? Palantir exceeded market's expectation after reporting earnings today, but the stock is currently down 4.3% during the overnight hours. What happened and why is there so much selling pressure? What's going on, guys? It's Ricky here with a super quick market update. I hope that I provide a little bit more insight on why we are seeing some selling pressure. So my biggest takeaway very quickly from Palantir reporting earnings is at one point it was up like 7%. We live streamed Palantir earnings today. And one thing we made very clear is, hey, be aware of how quickly this stock can pump. But again, it doesn't have to sustain itself at those levels. Quickly ended up correcting itself. It consolidated up until its earnings call. And then it was something that Alex Karp said, who's the CEO of Palantir, that really led to more of that consistent selling pressure. And to my understanding, it's when he stated that Palantir expects to 10x in the next 5 years in revenue based off of current expectation. But why is the stock selling off? Isn't that a good thing? It would be a good thing if Palantir was not trading already at a much larger multiple of that revenue. And this is where the problem lies, is that, well, how much longer can Palantir sustain these very elevated valuations for a company that doesn't actually produce that much in revenue? Even if Palantir were to create more in revenue, let's pull this up very quickly just so you guys can look at the numbers. As of right now, it's projected to do, as of last year, 3.4 billion. We're going to be probably closer to 5. And because of that, its multiple is 633 times its earnings. This is an insane multiple. Feel free to look it up. I encourage you. There's never been a solid tech company that sustained those elevated PE ratios for a long period of time. They always end up correcting themselves. Even if you want to compare it to Tesla, even Tesla ends up correcting itself. Again, that, in my opinion, is just the red flag. If you're okay with paying a premium, to each your own. You shouldn't be discouraged to invest in companies that you value. And I really do believe that. But there's a problem. This is a company that nearly sits at a $500 billion market cap, yet it makes less than $1 billion in net income. Even if it does 10x in the next 5 years, you're talking about where it plans to be in revenue in 5 years. But today, it's already trading at a higher multiple, because even if this were to 10x, what would that mean? That we dropped the PE ratio to 63 times its earnings? That's still higher than NVIDIA. That's still higher than Amazon. That's still higher than literally almost every Magnificent Seven stock, except for Tesla, if you want to consider it one of those. Tesla does trade at a 306 multiple, which is very, very elevated. It's at one of the highest P ratios. But again, it's during a very irrational time. And the thing that I want to remind you is Tesla just reported its last earnings with government subsidies. It's going to be very interesting on what happens with Tesla's revenue and net income, where I think its P ratio is going to skyrocket once people begin to see that Tesla's not actually making as much money as they once were due to government subsidies and EV credits. So that's a conversation for another time. But when it comes down to Palantir, don't get me wrong. This could be a dip buy opportunity for very bullish Palantir traders, right? It's a 4% pullback. I do not think this is a safe stock to short. Please don't get my words twisted. I've shorted it before. I don't like normally shorting Palantir because it's so, like, Wall Street loves it. Anytime that it pulls back, it tries to find any and every reason on why to recover. It's been very challenging. I just have respected Palantir from afar. I don't think it's a good deal, but I also don't think it's always made a good short until price action supports it. So it's going to be interesting to follow up with it in the next few days, because it looks like things are finally beginning to kind of get a reality check, if you would say. When you look at Palantir, all of it was very impressive based off of market expectation. From what it reported to what was expected, what it reported to what it was expected. It did exceed market's expectation. If we pull it up, again, we talked about it in the live stream, a 23% surprise on EPS and 8% surprise on revenue. That is very impressive, but I want to remind you, it's not just being impressive and exceeding market's expectation. You really have to wow investors and absolutely wow them when you are trading at a PE ratio of 640 times from what you actually make as a company. You can't talk about where we plan to be in 5 years at only a 10x. It needs to be 100x based off of this multiple to really wow investors. And I think this is where, I'm not saying we're even close, but I think this is where we begin to kind of like almost just second guess of like, hey, not that this has to be the top, but what are the ratios? What's my potential for upside here at $220 per share to my potential downside if we do enter a recession? How valuable at that point does Palantir actually become to the average consumer, right? Something to take into consideration. And again, as of right now, from even the moment that we're talking, it looks like it's still experiencing some downside. 4.7%, 4.8%. It's down to lows of 197. And even then, if you look at this on the 4-hour time frame, it's still so incredibly bullish. It hasn't even touched the EMA line on the 4-hour time frame. Palantir is loved by Wall Street. And I don't want to take that away from this video. I'm not trying to jab it or kick it while it's down by any means. I'm just here to remind you and to make you aware that, hey, if you're bullish on Palantir and you think that the market's going to buy it up because markets are going to push higher, this might be a dip by opportunity that, since you're so bullish, you might want to entertain, right? Let's do the math very quickly. You're using the little trend line tool from the current support. If it does end up making new highs back to 222, 12%, right? But at what risk? Well, what happens if Palantir begins to retrace? Not saying that it will, just saying, what if it does? Currently trading at 197, right? From 197, if we pull back to the EMA on the day chart, that's a 9.8% pullback. If we pull back to the moving average, that's a 32% pullback. And if we pull back to the levels that we were before this insane rally during the trade war, that is a 56% pullback. And I think that's why when you look at the fair value tool on Investing Pro, it shows that there is 52% downside. At any sign of uncertainty, if markets begin to retrace, companies like Palantir will always be the ones that get the most destroyed because they currently trade at one of the most irrational valuations. But if irrational markets continue to support that condition in that environment, then these companies can continue to thrive. Again, I talk about this all the time with my LPP traders. Know when to trade a stock, know when to invest in a stock. The difference is the intention. Investing is long-term, focusing on good deals, not paying a premium. To trading is, you see an intraday play or a swing trade, right? Direction or sentiment's beginning to shift. You might short, you might go long. Again, but if you're a beginner, stay away from shorting Palantir. I don't think it's a safe stock to short. And first off, on top of that, beginners shouldn't be shorting to even begin with. On top of that, Michael Burry bets against AI boom with 66% of Scion and Palantir puts and 14% on NVIDIA puts. Let me make this very clear. Michael Burry is known for the big short. Yes, he's had a very successful short on the housing bubble crash, but other than that, every other short that he's taken advantage of has not panned out very, very well. So I like talking about all of the good, but I also like shedding light on the uncertainty. There's still a lot of uncertainty that, there is no trigger yet to cause the market to fully crash. Once we do experience that, then again, I can justify aggressively shorting, more in a sound way. As of right now, any day that I do short, I get in, I get out, I make my money, and I bounce. Like today, right? One of the big focuses that we had was QBTS. Direction was incredibly favorable. Lower highs, lower lows. It made sense to short. The price action supported it. Made a little bit over $3,800. And then, of course, we had Amazon. This one was $1,800. But also, not every short goes according to plan. I did take a short on HIMS that reported earnings. I should actually have been down less. At one point, I was up $2,000, but I lost $1,800 on this short. We'll see tomorrow if this overbought reversal forms and it begins to retrace again, because HIMS reported, in my opinion, terrible earnings. But there's this announcement that was shared today that hyped up the stock again, and HIMS relative to the 4-hour time frame is at a psychological support, so it does have some upside potential. I took the risk and I paid the price. Again, like I've said before, I like showing you guys my good trades. I like showing you my bad trades. It's the whole point of trading, right? There's no such thing as a perfect trader. I think that's why my LPP team enjoys watching me trade live, because it's not just, oh, call outs, or it's just a raw live trading session every single morning right at market open. So again, if you ever want to tune on in, it's the second link in the description down below. We have a little discount link in there for you. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access. We have members that signed up back in 2018 that still tune on in every day now. So whenever you're ready, feel free to join. If not, subscribe to the channel, and I'd love to do my part in keeping you guys up to date. I want to remind you that tomorrow we have Uber, Shopify, and Spotify reporting before the market opens, AMD and Supermicro after the market closes. Just a quick little heads up. Wish you guys nothing but the best. I hope that earned a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.